Coming to you direct from Silencer Shop Studios, home of the Glass Case of Emotion.
SilencerShop.com, the easiest way to buy silencers online, period.
Stand by for education, enlightenment, enjoyment, and entertainment.
He's not here to talk about your feelings. He's not here to say what you want to hear. He's here to say what needs to be said.
Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, please welcome your host, the pimp hand of America, Professor Paul Markel.
Saying what needs to be said. That actually is the topic of today's show in a roundabout way. Welcome to Student of the Gun Radio. I am your host, Professor Paul Markel, and I'm ensconced in a glass case of emotion. That's right, here at Student of the Gun University. And on the other side, the man behind the curtain, literally, not figuratively, but literally, the man behind the curtain is Jared. Jared, is your microphone turned on today?
My microphone is turned on, and I just realized that I am literally behind curtains.
Literally behind the curtain. That's right. You know, somebody walked in the other day. I don't know if it was Shorty or Dixon or somebody. They walked in, they went all the way through the building, and they came out in the lobby, and they're like, "Did Jared leave already?" I said, "No, he's in there." He's like, "He is?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "He's on the other side of the curtain." "Oh, I didn't look back there."
Yeah, it's probably Shorty.
That's
funny.
It was like a week or two ago, or well, it was right before you went on vacation, I guess it was. But did you ever get a message back from our friend Shane?
No, not yet.
Okay, so then I guess we won't be talking about that. Today we're going to talk about some lessons from the Demon Sermon. Now the book is called The Demon's Sermon on Martial Arts and Other Tales. And before you get your all you Southern Baptists, before you get your panties all in a wad there, we're not talking about the traditional biblical demon. We're talking about the mythical Tengu demon from Japanese mythology. And we've mentioned this book before, but I was reading it last week. As a matter of fact, it was the week of 4th of July, Jared. I took the book with me when we went to the Beau Rivage, and we relaxed for a couple of days. And I sat by the pool, and I read this book. And this is like the third time, I guess, that I'm reading it. And I took some notes, and I decided that much like we did with the previous book, we talked about the art of war. We're going to talk about the Demon Sermon. And this week, I've got some lessons for you. But before we get into that, it is Wednesday. And because it's Wednesday, well, what do we do on Wednesdays? Well, it's our SWAT Fuel Fitness Talk Day. Jared, do you have your fitness talk ready to go? You ready to do that? Well, before you do that, I'm going to go ahead and thank our friends at Crossbreed Holsters, the makers of the Super Tuck Deluxe, also known as the Bruce Jenner Commemorative. Frog Lube, it's green, it's minty fresh, it's extreme, and it just works. And Century Arms, the sweetest smelling arms makers in the U.S. of A.
I don't remember if I've talked about this before or not, but it's worth repeating. I may have touched on it a little bit.
I don't know. I'm reading the show notes, and I'm thinking, where's he going with this?
Okay. So I know I've talked about consistency being key. Dad's talked about that in firearms, with firearms training. And being a man or a woman of your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And we'll start with fitness. If you tell yourself you're going to go to the gym, then go to the gym. If you tell yourself you're going to do a workout, then do that workout. It's really not that hard. It takes 5-10 minutes out of your day. Or if you tell yourself you're going to go to the gym for an hour, do it for an hour.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Set goals.
And keep doing it. Yeah. Be a man or woman of your word, and also be consistent with it. Now, if you think about the way being a man or a woman of your word, it includes being assertive with yourself. Now, if you're assertive with yourself, that will transfer out into what you do on a daily basis. You will be assertive not only with yourself, but what you do daily, at work, at home, whatever. And being assertive is not always a bad thing. It can be, obviously, but Being assertive means just
asserting yourself.
Say Google it, and it'll come up with a definition for you if you really want to hear it. But if you think about in like elementary school, being assertive, okay, playground bullies won't mess with the one who fights back. And being assertive, asserting yourself is what happens when you fight back against that bully. Am I wrong?
No, not necessarily. But in today's world, if you fight back, then you get punished too.
Yes.
And we punish the defender, so. Yeah.
It is kind of a catch-22 now.
Yeah, catch-22. Do you know what that
means? Nope, I don't know where it came from. I was going to ask you, what's the origin of
the origin of catch-22? I don't think I could confidently give you that answer.
Well, somebody can.
I'm sure that Siri or Google can try and do that for you.
I don't really trust them, though.
Yeah, sometimes they're full of crap, quite frankly. Boy, the internet, everything on the internet's true. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Especially Wikipedia. Everything on Wikipedia is true.
And the last point that I want to hit on here is people will give you preferential treatment if you are assertive, if you are a man or a woman of your word. And what do I mean by that? If you continually, like, I'll use Dad as an example because I know that this is true. He spent 20 years in the industry building, 30 almost.
Yeah.
Building
Since
your
early
reputation
90s.
as you started out as a writer and you built your reputation by being a man of your word, and people, they continue to trust you because of what you did. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sure that people gave him preferential treatment when he said, "Hey, I'm going to do this article. Would you like to include your product?" And they're like, and then they get it done quickly because he was a man of his word, because he did what he said he was going to do.
Well, that goes back to what we've discussed recently about getting ahead in life. People are like, this isn't fair and this isn't fair. Screw fairness. All right. I was going to say F fair, but fair is where you go and eat candy apples and ride rides. That's the fair.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to talk about the fair? That's where you go on the tilt-a-whirl and throw up your popcorn. That's the fair. Okay. Fair is not a valid concept in the world. You don't want to get promoted. You want to get more money. You want to have a nicer car to drive or a better place to live. Work hard. Do what you said you were going to do. Really, in today's world, there is so much slothful weakness that standing out isn't that hard. You literally just have to be a person of your word. And you're like, wow, sorry, person of my word. Yeah. Like when you're supposed to be there at 2 p.m. to start your shift, be there at 2 p.m. That's part of being a man of your word. When your supervisor says, I need you to accomplish this mission, whatever that mission is, you go do it to the best of your ability and get it done. And then they go back and they're like, hey, I can count on that person to do what needs to be done. I'm going to give them more responsibility. I'm going to give them more money. I'm going to give them whatever. And it all comes down to being a person of your word and disciplining yourself. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And that's a tough thing in the world, especially we talked yesterday about fitness, about how it's hard because you actually have to make yourself do it. And it's easy not to. Everybody can do that. Everybody can not do it. It doesn't take any effort to sit on a couch.
Yeah.
But it takes effort to get up off the couch and go actually do something positive and productive. So.
I don't even remember. I was listening to a book, and it made me think of this, where there was a story being told of how this dude couldn't get what he wanted. And the reason he couldn't get what he wanted in what I got out of it was because he wouldn't put forth the effort. All in life, if you want something, it's really not that hard to get it. It might take some effort, but you can get, and especially here in America, you can pretty much get anything that you want.
Well, people say, well, I did what you said and I didn't get it. Oh, immediately? You want instant gratification? Instant gratification is not a concept if you're going to have your own business. If you're going to, like, for instance, the truth of the matter is people will tell you, if you're going to start your own business, you better have enough money to either another income, because you're not going to be able to pay yourself for 6 months or a year. You're not going to turn a profit for probably 2 years. And if that's something that you can't handle, then don't do it. But it's, the fast food microwave, I'm going to start a business and tomorrow I'm going to have $1 million. No, you're not. It's not the way it works. But you need to, bros, it's simple. It's simple nature, really. If you look at nature, the nature of your body, the nature of the world, what have you, and we do a lot of comparisons between physical exercise, mental exercise, and, our work and our lives, because they are very much the same. And it's like fixing the nation. You say, well, I hope the nation is fixed on, November 11th or 12th or 3rd, or I don't know what day election day is this year, but do you really think that 8, 10, 12 years of slothful weakness is going to be fixed in one day with one election? It's not. It's not. That's like saying I'm going to sit around on my couch and do nothing but eat pizza and drink Mountain Dew for 6 months. Now I'm 25 pounds overweight and I'm going to go to the gym next week. And that's going to fix it. Does that work, Jared? Is that how it works? You just go to the gym next week? No, it doesn't. So it takes time, it takes effort, it takes consistency, and be a man or a woman of your word. If you're going to do it, do it. If you're not, don't.
And just pick one thing. Just do that with one thing. Tell yourself that you're going to do, 15 minutes. You're going to do a 15-minute workout today, and do it, and then do that tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. And do it until it's a habit. Once you make something a habit, it's hard to stop doing that.
Yes, indeed. All right. Let's hear from Alex. I haven't heard from Alex today.
Attention, new listeners. We produced a free training video series called 7 Training Tips That Could Save Your Life. We want you to have access to this life-saving information. Get instant access now at studentofthegun.com. Do you watch Student of the Gun TV, read the blog, and follow us on Facebook? If you answered no to any of those questions, you are wrong, but you can easily fix yourself. Go to studentofthegun.com to find everything SOTG.
Absolutely, that is what you should do. All right, as you can also go to brownells.com to find everything that goes in, on, around your gun. If you have a gun, they have something for you. Even if you don't have a gun, they still have something for you. And, of course, you can pick up Duracoat products while you're there. Lauer Custom Weaponry. And Lauer Weaponry is the maker of, not only Duracoat products, but Duracoat, DuraBlue. They have solvents. They have, if you have a wooden stock, they can help you refinish that too. Duracoat, why? Because life is too short to have an ugly gun, and that's just the way it is. All right, folks, let's talk about the Demon Sermon on Martial Arts. Well, number one, it is a very cerebral book, and this is one of the books that I recommend that you read after you've read The Art of War and Musashi's Five Rings. Essentially, the book is written as though there are a Tengu, a Japanese Tengu, is telling a story, and he's using parables. And this is a technique that goes all the way back hundreds, if not thousands of years, where you have talking animals. You have a cat and a rat. Aesop's fables. Remember the sour grapes? The fox couldn't get the grapes, and he's like, they're probably sour anyway. Things like that. And remember the wild boar, Jared? The story about the wild boar sharpening his tusk, and he says, when it's time to use them, I'm not going to have time to sharpen them. So this technique of using talking animals or having animals converse with each other is very old, and it's something that I grew up with. I don't know if they still do that today. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But in this particular one, in there it says the crow the crow is talking to, I think he was talking to another bird, a crane or something like that. Doesn't matter. But the crow caw. And then when the crow caws, the people don't like it. And essentially, he says, well, I'm cawing because I'm warning them that bad luck or something bad is coming. And yet they don't like me and they shoo me away. And, well, they say to the crow, they says, well, here's the deal, Mr. Crow. You think that you're doing a service by cawing and making noise and warning of impending doom. And this is a quote that I pulled from that particular lesson. And I wanted to spend some time today talking about it. It says, if you inform someone that he's not virtuous or is on the wrong track and correct him by pointing out his mistakes, the listener won't believe you. On the contrary, it's men's nature to feel they are being slandered and to dislike being told that they are wrong. Now you say to yourself, well, all right, but I'm not in the crow story and I don't care about crows and what have you, but consider that for a second. It is in men's nature to feel that they're being slandered and to dislike being told that they are wrong. How many times have we experienced that here, Jared? I point out the error of someone's ways.
More than once.
Or an error in, there's a better way of doing certain things. In the gun culture, and that's what we are, this is what you're probably, if you're listening to me, you're probably part of the gun culture. In the gun culture, we have had this tendency, for as long as I've been alive and paying attention, to simply regurgitate that which has been said before, that which has been talked about before. And we say things and repeat things and do things over and over and over again ad nauseum without ever stopping to think, is there a reason that we're doing this? Or is it because, well, someone else said it or did it before me, so that has to be the right way? Jared, you remember, we talked about one of our listeners wrote in and said in the Army, in field artillery, the two guys have to run to the front of the truck and stand there. And that's part of the firing of the weapon. And we said, why do we do that? And he figured it out. It went all the way back to when they had horses, when the horses were pulling cannons. And so before you fired the gun, you had two guys run to the front of the carriage and grab the horses' bridles so they didn't bolt and run away. And that was in the manual. And they never changed the manual. They never changed it when they got rid of horses and started using Jeeps and trucks. They just had people do the same thing. Nobody knew why they were running to the front of the truck and standing there. They just knew that they had to. And we do that. We do things like that. We say things and we do things in training or on the ranges, or you stand around gun shops and you listen to people. And every once in a while, you need to think about it. Now, that's been my lot in life for many years now, is to think and consider and to point out fallacies. For instance, recently, we pointed out, I went into Walmart, and I didn't point anything out, but I went into Walmart and I saw that on the shelf, they had an object, an item, and it was called, I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on Instagram, Jared. You remember the toe rest on Instagram? The leather toe rest? Yeah. So you would think that people in the student of the gun audience, I understand that casual shooters, that occasional people, the Shoe Top Barrel Rest by Allen. It is a piece of a leather fob, a stitched leather fob. And by the picture, you're supposed to lace it through the top of your boots. So you can do what? So that when you're on the trap or skeet range, when you're not shooting, you can take the muzzle of your shotgun and rest it on the top of your foot. Now, if someone is in the student of the gun audience, having been in the student of the gun audience, I would have believed previous to now that we're all on the same sheet of music regarding the 4 universal safety rules. And Jared, what's that one about never let the muzzle cover anything that you're not willing to just put a bullet into, destroy. Yeah. Not intend to. We don't intend to shoot everything that our guns are pointing at, but are not willing to. Like, so if my gun is pointed at the ground, I may not be intending to shoot the ground, but I would be willing to. I mean, if, God hated me and this gun went boom, it would go into the ground and be okay. Backstops and thick walls and so forth. So I posted that picture, and just kind of as a lark, and first of all, I was just dumbfounded that in the year 2016 that we're still selling things that encourage people to point guns at their own bodies, that are designed so that you will point a gun at your own body. And I took a picture of it, and I thought, I'm going to put this up because that's the way I do things. I sent it to Zach, and Zach, posted it on our social media, on the Instagram. I think Zach posted it on the Facebook too. And I think the simple question was, does anyone see anything wrong here, or is there a problem with this? And naturally, because we have at Student of the Gun, how many times, Jared, have we gone over the 4 universal safety rules?
Hundreds.
More than once?
Yeah.
More than twice? Many, like Commandant Lassard said, many times. Yeah, my question was really simple. Anyone see a problem with this? And this is what kind of blew me away. Oh, it's for trap and skeet shooters to rest the barrel of an empty shotgun while you're waiting your turn. What he said. No problem if it's used correctly. Says, I don't see a problem. Just make sure there's nothing in the chamber first. It's for shotgun shooting sports where you have a break open shotgun while you wait your turn. You break your gun open and rest the barrel on your foot. It's better than putting it on the ground. Okay. Wow. Jared, when people have negligent discharges, do they ever say, damn, I thought the gun was loaded?
No.
People that have negligent discharges pretty much never, ever say, oh, I'm surprised. I thought the gun was loaded. No, they always say the opposite. They say, I didn't think the gun was loaded. How many negligent discharges do you need to have to injure yourself? 5, 10, 20, 30, 40? Really, one's all it takes. Now, does having a negligent discharge make you a bad person? No, it doesn't make you a bad person. We're not going to sew a scarlet N onto your tunic and make you wear that. It doesn't make you evil or stupid or retarded. But what does make you a retard is when someone points out and discusses the universal safety rules with you, you debate them, and Jared, I'm going to go ahead. Can I say this? Can I talk about this?
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and give you some of the quotes that we got. And says, clearly there's not a lot of trap shooters in this group. They've been selling these for as long as I can remember, and are for over-under shotguns with long barrels, used only when the action is open and there's no shell in the chamber. Okay, so apparently that's not a gun. Clearly, Student of the Gun either takes themselves too seriously, or they're just looking to drum up conversation from the uneducated. I'm starting to question what makes these dudes, quote, experts. I didn't know that pointing out the 4 universal safety rules made us put our expert status in question. Here we go. 2 words, Student of the Gun, hair splitting. If you've ever stood in the middle of a skeet trap field during a tournament shooting 400 targets in 105 degrees heat, you would use one of these also. Nothing to see here. Keep moving along, people. It's for trap shooting. And the guns are cleared open action. If that's too safety Nazi, or that's too safety Nazi if you really think this is a big problem. Like Nathan said, blah, blah, blah. Oh, please. I've used these for decades in trap shooting. The chamber's open and always empty. It's perfectly safe. Folks, if we can't even agree on, as a gun culture, and I'm not talking about, like I said, I'm not talking about the knuckleheads on CNN. I'm not talking, Jared, did you have an opportunity to watch that video that was shared with us about the two chicks on Fox who get to bring the other chick on as an expert to talk about the gun used in Dallas? Did you see that? I shared it with you. If you didn't, that's cool. I want to use that audio tomorrow. I'm not talking about the chicks on Fox that have no idea which end is the dangerous end. Those aren't the people I'm talking about. I understand that they are retards. They're functional retards. I get that. But the people that are hanging out in the student of the gun chat rooms, the people that follow us, the people who somehow accidentally got here, if we all can't agree on the 4 universal safety rules and the application of the 4 universal safety rules, I don't even know where to go from there. I mean, seriously, I don't even need to know where to go from there. If I'd say to you, and we've done the explanation, if I say to you, hey, don't do that, or, the finger off the trigger, all that stuff, know your backstop. If I say that and you say to me, I think you're splitting hairs, I think you're overthinking it, I think you're just trying to bring those up to be controversial. If we can't even agree on 4 simple, straightforward, universal safety rules, if we can't agree on those, I think we're lost. And we're not talking about, super rocket science stuff here. We're not talking about, evolution versus creationism here. We're talking about how do we keep and prevent each other from having negligent discharges and putting bullets into people that shouldn't have bullets in them. That's all we're talking about. And we can't even agree on that. And going back to our discussion of the crow, it says, on the contrary, it's men's nature to feel that they are being slandered and to dislike being told that they are wrong. So here comes little old Paul Markle, and he's walking down the sporting goods aisle of Walmart, and he sees something that is just antiquated and ridiculous, and kind of dumbfounded that that's still available, that's still out there. Put a picture of it up. And, I said, does anyone see anything wrong with this? Thinking that it was a rhetorical question, Woodcock. Yes, it gets you into the habit of pointing guns at yourself, which is not something that I generally would recommend. And rather than, what do he say? Not virtuous or on the wrong track and corrected by pointing out mistakes, the listener won't believe you. It's as though I slandered the people that were pointing guns at themselves by saying, hey, the universal safety rules should be followed in order to keep people from shooting people that shouldn't be shot, including yourselves. And like I said, you're not an evil, bad person for having a negligent discharge. But when we work together, or at least we're trying to work together to stop that from happening, and rather than not, say, yep, you're right, we shouldn't do that, to attack the messenger. How dare you, messenger, point out that I'm wrong, that I'm doing something incorrectly? And so I guess my question to you guys out there in the Student of the Gun listening audience is, should I continue down this path? If the nature of men is to feel that they're being slandered and to dislike being told when they're wrong, why should I continue doing it? Would it be easier for me to just talk about the things that people want to talk about or want to hear? Should we devote shows to 1911s or 9 verses 45? I don't know. You tell me. What do you think? Jared, are you paying attention over there? I see you're reading.
Yeah.
You're reading the show notes, but I understand that it is, my lot in life, but if it is men's nature, and based upon that, and that, that's a little bit anecdotal, but that's kind of what we experience here. And it's maddening to me because I think, I didn't say anything. I didn't think I said anything crazy. I was indicating that it's probably not a good habit to teach people and these guys with the over-under thing, like, it's simply an over-under gun that's broken open and you can see that the chambers are empty. Hey, Jared, you remember the photos that I snuck with my phone on the local trap and skeet range? Yep. And I showed with you? And most of those guns that were resting on people's toes,
they weren't open.
They weren't double barrel over-unders. Nope. They were Remington 1100s. Yep. Or Remington, 870s, 1187s.
And it's not just here that I've seen that. I've seen that everywhere I've been to a trap range.
They carry their guns like they're 2x4s.
Yeah.
They hold them. They grab them by the center, right by the action, and hold them parallel to the ground and carry them around the range like that, basically muzzling the whole world. But it's okay because it's not loaded.
Until it is.
The
whole point of the safety rules is to avoid, if it does happen to be loaded,
the situation
is to avoid the situation of shooting somebody.
Yeah, we had a story a couple of years ago. We did a little homeroom about Evil Gun. Remember that bad gun that went off in the skeet club in the clubhouse and injured 10 people? Why did it injure 10 people?
It wasn't loaded.
The gun was bad. It was a bad gun, and it went off. Well, I mean, it was in a human being's hand, and a human being took their booger hook, put it on the trigger on the curvy thing, and pulled it on purpose. But it was a bad gun. I think in that case the thing says gun accidentally fires, injures 10. No. And that was it was a trap shooter. And what did he do? He thought he was dropping a snap cap into the chamber of his gun, and he was going to lower the hammer onto the snap cap to save the springs, because that's a really super important thing. And just went ahead, but it wasn't. It was a trap load, and he fired it into a smooth tile floor. And as you can imagine, if you angle a trap load into a smooth tile floor, those little pieces of shot go everywhere, and they went into like 10 people. Folks, do you know why we hammer the universal safety rules into people? Do you know why you hammer those into people? We don't do that. We don't teach you the safety rules so that you can follow them when you're sharp, alert, on your game, 100%. No, we teach you those. We do that so that when you're not sharp, when you're not 100%, when you're not 100% on your game, you're like, oh, I always am. Really? You're never hot, tired, hungry, annoyed, distracted. The reason we teach you those, the reason that we teach them and they're taught to people is so that you do it right, so that you don't muzzle yourself or others, so that you don't reflexively stick your booger hook on the trigger and pull it just because. We teach you those so that you won't have an ND when you are tired and hungry and hot and distracted. brothers and sisters, when I used to carry a 1911, and I carried 1911 for a lot of years, I'm going to tell you something. I came home from, and this goes back more than 20 years, so shut up. But the first department I was on, matter of fact, well, many of the departments I were on, in small town America, a lot of you guys who live in big cities, you might not realize this, but in small town America, when you get hired on as a police officer, they give you a really nice blue or gray or whatever polyester uniform, and they give you a badge, and they give you pants and shirts, and they may or may not give you body armor, but most of them don't give you a gun. Most of them don't provide a gun for you, and most of them don't provide your leather gear and so forth. You have to bring that yourself. And so having been just recently in the United States Marine Corps and having a lot of experience with a 1911 45 ACP pistol, that is what I carried. That's what I carried on duty. And I remember, Jared, you don't know this because you were little, but I don't even know if I've ever said it. But I got off one night and it was late. It was like stupid, like 2:30 or something like that. It was one of those deals where I was probably supposed to be off at midnight, but I had to go back to the office and type with a typewriter. Remember the electric typewriter times? I had to sit and type with a typewriter and do reports. So I didn't get home until super late. I was tired. I was annoyed. I was hot. I just wanted to get out of my armor. I wanted to get out of my uniform. I wanted to get out of everything. And back in the old days, one of the things that I would do is I didn't just put my gun up, my duty gun up in the holster. I would take it out of the holster and I would put it wherever it needed to be. Because I had, believe it or not, I had more than one gun. And I had a gun that I used as kind of like an off-duty home kind of a gun and stuff. But the 1911, I would take it off. And because of, and I realized this after I examined it, way back when I was in the Marine Corps, one of the things, every time we would clear a gun to turn it in to what we would do is we would remove the gun from the holster. We would take the magazine out. We would point our guns into a sand-filled clearing barrel and drop the hammer. Then we would lock the slide back and hand it in to the guy in the armory. And this was what we were told to do, instructed to do, over and over and over again. I did it hundreds, if not thousands of times. So I'm standing by the edge of the bed, and I'm going through this process that I'd been taught in the Marine Corps hundreds of times, pulled the magazine, and I pointed the gun at the bed, and I just about dropped the hammer. And for some reason, I paused, and I yanked the slide back, and a round popped out onto the bed. I was like, Mother Fletcher, I almost ND'd this gun. Now, the good news is it would have gone into the bed. It probably would have passed all the way through the bed and ended up in the floor. But the reason I stopped was because I had that flash of don't put unless your sights are on and you intend to fire. So I stopped, pulled the slide back. And I realized that what almost caused me to have an ND at that point in time was the fact that I'd been doing something just reflexively over and over and over again and never stopped to think, is this really what you should be doing? Or are we just doing this because? A lot of the techniques that we use with the 1911 came from the 1873 single action Colt. And if you think about it, when you're standing at the window of the armory, what is the point in snapping the trigger reflexively into a clearing barrel? Why don't you just take the magazine out, clear the gun, lock the slide to the rear, and hand it in? No one ever raised their hand and said, hey, we're teaching people to reflexively snap the trigger.
Well, but the tension on the trigger because of the springs and hammers and you can't do that.
You can't store it with a da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And we're like, yeah, but before you pass it through the window, the slide has to be locked to the rear. So why did we add this reflexive trigger snapping habit? Nobody ever did that. Nobody ever raised their hand and said, why are we doing this? Or if they did, they're saying, shut up, it's in the manual. And that's what we are. We do things. But then when somebody points out, instead of saying, hey, you know what? You're right. Just reflexively snapping the trigger for no reason is probably not a good habit. We should probably not do that. No, you bring that up, and what are you told? Oh, you're a smart aleck. You're a smart ass. Can I say that? Can I say smart ass on this?
Sure.
Jared says I can. I didn't put the word whole behind the other 3-letter word, so I should be okay. So instead of doing that, instead of listening to someone when they say, hey, you probably shouldn't do that anymore, or that's incorrect or that's wrong, what do? We attack the messenger. So I don't know. Maybe as the messenger, maybe I'm just pushing a rock up a hill and people are just going to do what they want to do anyway and they don't want to hear it. What do you think, Jared? You tell me. Should I just...
I think that we should have the audience decide. I don't even...
There you go. You want me to just... We'll change the format of the program. We'll just talk about 9 versus 40 and our favorite skeet and trap guns, and we'll talk about squirrel hunting and stuff like that.
So what is the question here? What should they answer on social media? Do you want to hear about 9 versus 45, or do you... Wait, no. No, the real question is, do you want us to continue with this message, or do you not want to hear us at all? Because we're not going to talk about 9 versus 45 and all that.
But that was a lesson. What we just talked about right there. That was actually a lesson that I got from there. Is, should you do it, and is it worthwhile? I don't know. You tell me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. And I hope you enjoyed Wednesday's show. We're halfway through the week already. And your homework assignment is simple. Share this program with somebody that you care about that needs to hear it. And if you're Jared, you know what you didn't point out? I don't think I heard you say the words. I'm looking in the show notes. It says, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV.
Yes, Apple TV, 2 more days. It's going to be released on Friday the 15th.
Friday the 15th. Okay. And they have to have an updated player, right?
Yeah, Gen 4 or later. You have to be able to get to the App Store to download the app, basically.
Okay. There you go. So that is your instructions. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.